I'm just making this video to give you a little bit of background and maybe answer some questions about your Module 3 or Activity 3. So in terms of Activity 3, today the purpose is to show you and hopefully help you understand better the significance of creating a systematic recruitment and selection process. And what I mean by that is a lot of organizations, they do it very haphazardly. And you have read some articles about that and learned about that. And so today we're going to take a deep dive into the recruitment and selection process. And you're going to actually be creating that process for your organization. So let me take you through the steps. So step 1, you can check that right off. That's watching this video. Then the first step is watching a TED Talk by a really interesting entrepreneur and investor. His perspective on recruiting and selecting talent is really interesting, and I think there's a lot to be learned from it. So watch this video and just soak in what he's saying. You might not agree with everything, but certainly a really high quality TED Talk. Then for step 3, you are going to again watch this clip, and it's going to give you an overview of the steps for creating a more systematic selection process. Now, I also want to say that with this activity, just like the last one and the one before that, you need to have an organization in mind. Which one it is, that's totally up to you. You make this activity work for you. So I would recommend starting with your current organization. I think that's always a great place to start because you know that company really, really well. You know the ins and outs. And for this specific activity, you need to not only know the organization, but you need to know the particular ins and outs of the job. So, but like I said, if you're currently working for a startup or some organization that just doesn't quite fit, pick a different one. No problem, okay? So use whichever one makes the most sense. Watch this. In step 3, you're going to watch this kind of introductory YouTube video. It's going to give you an idea of the whole process with the steps that we're going to go through. And then the subsequent steps are going to take you through that same process. So the first step, step 4, which is actually step 4 here, but the first step in the process of developing a more systematic selection process for your company, right? Kind of putting your CHRO hat on, is to define the role, right? Essentially, you're going to create a job description. And what I want you to do is use the attached template. There's a template that's also on Cougar Courses under your Activity 3 section, and use that template and attach it, turn it in with the rest of your packet. Then what you're going to do is build a profile. So you're going to go through and you're going to think about what are called the KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities. And this is all explained actually on page 42 of your book. So you're going to need your book for reference for this step. And so you're going to go ahead and determine those KSAs. Like I said, go ahead and take a look at your book, page 42, and then also for reference 45, there's a needs assessment that you might want to take a look at. And you're going to go ahead and put them on the page there. Make sure you do, you list them in bullet point form. For step 6, what you're going to do is, after reading this section, again in your book on page 16, Finding Applicants, you're going to describe how and where you would recruit your own applicants and why. I want to know why you would recruit them from there. And it's really important to remember that when you recruit, you want to be, again, strategic about it. So you don't just want to, cast the bait to every single person, right? You want to think about pools of applicants that you think would be a good fit for the job that you're offering. So that's what I want you to explain in step 6. Step 7 is I want you to think about the articles that you've read and what you've learned. In particular, about reliability and validity. And again, there's a YouTube video that's going to explain what those mean. And I know probably you talked about them in the last class, right, in statistics. But reliability and validity, they mean something the same, but the application to HR is what we're focusing on here. So this is a nice clip, and it's going to tell you exactly what we're talking about in terms of reliability and validity. And then you're going to select 3 measures, 3 ways that you would try to determine the best candidates, right? So in step 7, you're actually picking, like, for example, selection measure 1 might be a semi-structured interview. And what I want you to do is put that there and explain what specifically about the job, right? Go back to your KSAs. What is that measuring, right? And tell me a little bit about why you chose that. Then you're going to do the same thing for measure 2 and measure 3, right? So you're designing a strategic selection process in this module. Then for step 8, there is a really interesting CHRO conversation with Scott Weisberg, who is the Chief People Officer or the CHRO of Wendy's, and you're going to answer some questions about that. And then step 9, you have a few questions. So hopefully that helps you, get oriented with this module. And like I said, you're taking a deep dive into the recruitment and selection process, practicing what it means to think strategically about designing this for an organization. And one more thing that I want to make sure that everybody knows is that you don't need to do the reflection until all 4 of your activities are done. So you shouldn't even be thinking about that reflection yet. That's going to happen on the very last Saturday of class after you've done activities 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then that final Saturday is when you think back and you answer those questions about all 4 of the activities that you've done. Okay, I hope that helps. And as always, don't forget to reach out to me with questions.